Uday with me. Uday has been a friend from the meditation circuit for a long time for me. We have known each other for, I think, now 5, 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, or more. And the advantage of having somebody like him on this conversation is that we are continuously having these conversations of seeking the truth for ourselves and dealing with everyday issues. So very often we find ourselves grappling with issues that are real time and at the same time trying to seek what could be the primordial search for all humankind. That includes us. Welcome to the show, Uday. How
Welcome.
are you? Sorry.
I'm fine. Nice to be back after a long time.
Yeah. Uh, so luckily, I have been thinking on this for the last 10 minutes. The first thing that comes to mind is I had a conversation with somebody yesterday.
Mhm.
Quite a couple of people on different issues, different things that boggle the mind. Could be work related, could be personal, could be marriage related, could be um, the seeking of meaning in life. Uh, and one thing that struck me about myself is that while I do get stuck about things which happen now and then, or sometimes I'm idiotic enough to go grasping after things that I should be letting go of, in spite of knowing that these are issues that will burn me and uh, create a lot of mental problems, physical problems at some point of time. But this habit takes over and I go there. But also, there was this gratitude for a lot of small things that I let go because yesterday, when I heard a lot of inputs from other people, I was suddenly very grateful that I may not be one of those rocking successes on A, B, C, D parameters. But thankfully, I don't have any of those problems as well. The flip side to those successes haven't happened. Um, so my question is very skeptical this morning. Is it my belief system at work or does meditation really work?
Now, when we talk of meditation, people typically think it's some separate activity on a cushion, or you go to a course, you sit under a guru and sit at home. Um, but meditation is also how you are mentally approaching life. So a painter could be meditating with his work. He's so deeply engrossed with it. He's not uh, letting his mind wander in any other thoughts or activities, and he's one with his activity. And in creativity circles, it's called flow, where you are one with your creative journey. Uh, so that is meditation as well, because you are one with the activity. Now, where it probably differs in the spiritual practices, when you're getting too involved with the output. Like, I am a painter and I want this painting to be so excellent, or a musician or an artist. Mm. And there you have issues where the output is taken away from you, or it doesn't satisfy your expectations. And in a spiritual journey, if you're not seeking or wanting enlightenment or reaching a certain stage, you're doing it as an open-ended process. Then meditation would help you, see things as they are, and know that we are a small speck in the whole universe, and this extraordinary importance we give to ourselves would only make things difficult to accept. But otherwise, I think meditation should make you actually lighter as a human being. uh, just see that you know there's so much more joy and happiness to be got by compassion, and looking things a little more wisdom, rather than always jumping from one thing to the other, hoping everything works out fine in my life, me and myself. So I think that's where it is.
Thinking my teenage kid asked me one question a couple of days back on this. So I have many other questions, but I thought that is also relevant here. She said, what about the system of rewards? If you're working for a reward, so studying for something to get good results or uh, competing to get the best position in the company or the anything at all where there is a reward at the end of it and you aim for that reward, where is the problem?
There is no problem if aiming at the reward. Problem is when you don't get the reward. That's when there's a huge letdown. And also the problem when you get the reward and the reward is over. Like, for example, and it happens to many people. You get the first prize and a few moments you are a star and everybody think you're great, and the next day it's over, right? The event is over. Everybody is moved on with their life, and you step out of your house. You have won the first at whatever, but the world goes on, right? So your birthday cake you cut and it was great feeling, and then you distribute it to everybody, and 10-15 minutes later the cake is gone. So all rewards eventually are just that. They're momentary, things that give you happiness. And as long as you're fine, you know that. As a kid, you don't know that, but hopefully as you are growing, you realize that most of these things are just that. So when I was passing by a shop the other day and I saw all these trophies that were kept for sale. When you were young, you were actually taking them very seriously, right? That you won this game or this match, and now you're going and seeing, oh, these things are actually sold in a shop, and you buy them, and anybody can buy one of them. So, and that's why this first coming back to the first, what we are all seeking, we're probably seeking something that cannot be bought, that is something of some eternal value to us, something which comes through probably genuine honest effort, where money or talent or influence doesn't really dictate whether you can or cannot attempt it. And so this peace of mind or enlightenment or salvation, whatever we call, people are following the spiritual path to in the hope that they get there without the hindrances of our upbringing or circumstances or caste, creed, gender. So, so rewards do matter, but uh, more see, even if you have say class first, how many people can be first in your class?
So it is an individual pursuit and I'm only worried about what I think about it.
No, that's what. So only one person can, right? So the top prize in anything, the CEO can be one person, the class topper can be one person. What about the rest?
I, in our mind, do we even think about anybody else?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Maybe it makes sense to think about everybody else, because you could be one among the everybody else. Statistically, you may not make to CEO, right? Statistically, you may not be the topper in your class. So what about statistically, you may not reach 100 years. So that's a greater probability that our rewards, our things that we're striving for may not come true. If it comes, then there is a problem of success, which you said, thank God you don't.
No, there is a contrary question I have there. So if I become the prime minister of the country or the CEO of a company and so many people, Narayan Murthy, Ratan Tata, uh, Modi ji, Joe Biden, so all these great people, when they are mentioned even for their mistakes and things that happen to them, there is this whole sense of the whole world knows them. And there is a reassurance about their greatness uh, or the assurance of being special. Why would this not apply to them? Or does it?
No, it applies to everybody. It applies to everybody. It's just that we don't know what these great people are going through in their lives. We can't get a glimpse into their minds. And I don't think it is very different from what we are going through. Maybe at some level, we don't deal with many of their issues. Like if you take the top most cricketer or film star or industrialist, they probably don't have the freedoms that we have. They probably have to keep thinking about how to manage their wealth and property and fame and security of their family members. So many things are there that we probably don't know. But still, the dissatisfactoriness of the rewards in the material realm, whether they are food or whatever things that you enjoy, that fact that they're momentary, I think it hits them as well. So it's the same thing. So they're also by the different charitable activities, they're also trying to find some satisfaction that money, fame, and wealth probably cannot buy.
It's an interesting perspective. I'm seeing this direct correlation never hit me like this, that they are trying to be happier or lighter by sharing what they've got in excess, perhaps.
Yes. Yes.
I want to ask, bring it down to our level again in a way. So, is meditation compulsory for everyone? Or can one just have a set of values that one lives by and it's okay? Like one has discipline, one has basic honesty. Um, is that enough for one, or do you think meditation is compulsory? From your experiences, I would want to know what you were as a meditator before. Um, I would prefer if it is not loss of anger and things like that, but more practical things. So when you were working in active working life, what is it that was your core, who you were, and
I,
then how is your core right now, and what is the
I
difference?
I think if I just look back at my life, mm, you start off in school and college. Somewhere you realize that what you are doing might not be in the right way to go about learning. Or if like I wanted to be a scientist, but so I didn't see how I was doing what I was doing going to encourage my curiosity or help me discover something new, because we are just remembering what is already done in writing and exams. So somewhere I lost that complete belief that whatever system we are following is going to give us the results that I was looking for. Um, Secondly, and that was in a way it was a very discomfortable, very uncomfortable feeling where you were spending years of your life deep within. You don't believe that it is going to give you the result, but still you're doing it, right? That's very difficult. As an adult now, you can quit companies or you can do something else, but as a child, you're going through 10 years of schooling, another 2 years of high school, another 4 years of college. You're spending a considerable amount of time doing something where you actually don't believe it. And to come to some sort of an understanding without being frustrated day in, day out, right? I think that is where somewhere this understanding kicked in. Hey, this is also just another 2 years. It's just another 4 years. No, let's complete it, right? So I didn't go down the route of taking drugs or quitting college in between and facing a lot more difficulties. But somewhere it did occur that this is also temporary. It's not going to last my entire life, right?
It will not last.
And so when I did
What
start
what will
working,
not last?
means s- school will not last or college will not last, right? And that helped me get through that phase instead of assuming that, hey, my life is done and dusted now. So when I joined work and whatever you saw, this thought was always there. Hey, even if this job may not last, I won't be working in this for the entire life. Whatever time is there, I'll be here. So let me do the best I can, and then something else will come.
Uh, One question here. What do you mean this will not last? This will not last. Is it the frustration with the present moment of drudgery that one is part of?
That is one, but the other part is just this experience itself won't be there. Like
Uh,
I won't be in the company for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. It might be 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and it'll end.
okay.
So there is an end. So the mind is being told, hey, there is an ending to this particular feeling, whether it is a frustration or disappointment or whatever. and to then see that play out in life in different aspects. And if I could have the mental maturity to handle all of those changes in life, I think you don't need a meditation practice, because somewhere you're accepting that I don't control all the factors that affect the outcome of events. I don't, I can't change the way the world works or the corporate world works or personal relationships work. I know I do the best I can and then I have to accept whatever it is. If I could do that calmly without getting overly concerned or disturbed, then I wouldn't need meditation. And many people do that in daily life by also engaging in charitable activities, which takes the focus away from their own lives.
Uh, I I want to give a perspective here so that I
Mhm.
see what you want to react to it. So I have this very dear friend, and he's been a dear friend for many, many years. He's not a meditator. He's a firm believer in destiny. Like
Mhm.
firm means ironclad. He will say whatever has to happen is going to happen. You can't do anything about it.
Mhm.
And what you have done is going to come back to you, no
Mhm.
matter good or bad. It doesn't matter. You
Okay.
can't cancel it out. Nothing can happen. You have done it, so it's going to come to you.
Okay.
And he lives with the most amazing problems in this world.
Okay.
And he's gone through, if I remember correctly, what he told me his story, his dad was royalty in some UAE kind of part of royalty in some UAE country. And he's seen the worst, to the point of not having a place to stay overnight and literally having to go hungry or unhappy because of lack of family, and walking 8 hours daily to work and back because he had nothing to look forward to, all kinds of experiences. And he does not meditate, but he's one of the calmest people, and he goes through, even now as he's a little older to me, so he has varied experiences with his health at times. He's been hospitalized and he has no money. He says, "No, that's how it is." And he is unhappy about it, but he's if I want to say happily unhappy about it. He says that's what is going to happen. It can be done. And he'll try his best doing this. But there is this final word always. भाई तेरे को बोला जो होने वाला है वो तो होने वाला है, उसको कुछ नहीं कर सकता. And he is happy with that. Now I want your reaction to somebody like this. And he does have a moral code about it. जो करेगा भाई वो तो भरना पड़ेगा. He doesn't move away from that either. So he's not that he's a good guy necessarily. He's done mistakes in the past, but he's made his peace with it and he says this is what it is. And a rare kind of person in that sense. And one of the rare people that I have never suggested go for a course because I think he's made his peace with a lot of things. So what do you have to say about such a being where charity, he might be doing charity one, but he's mostly at the end of charity because he needs money more than most people. He's been having his own set of financial problems, but he's good at heart. You know that uh, if he has, he will share. He will not. He's very liberal with his sharing of knowledge, help, physical help if required. He's a designer, so if other people who don't know design come to him and say, "Okay, just do this for me so that I can make some money on freelance," he will do it for them. Never ask for money. So what do you have to say about a person like that? And does this cover what you were saying, or is it different? And is
So,
it fatalistic to believe like this in destiny? What are your thoughts on that?
see, there is where destiny becomes a problem is when you don't act in the present. Like you don't know, you don't do what you have to do or you can do in the present, saying everything is destiny. So that is something I think is fatalistic. But
Okay.
if I accept whatever good or bad I've done in the past is going to come to me, okay, it's going to come. I don't have any choice. But in the present, if I can do something good, and if
Yeah.
I do that, I think you're leading a good life, especially if you're helping out people and you're not expecting anything in return. Mm. That is fine. Where a meditation practice could help him is how he has dealt with his past, what he has accumulated within his own mind, even he wouldn't know. maybe when he sits down and he goes through a course or he meditates, maybe he will be able to understand what he has done to himself. Eh, Not everybody who looks calm or who looks happy on the outside have actually processed what has happened to them in the past in the right way. So I think it helps for such a person to meditate.
I think layers
But
of
is he better off than those who are meditating but not really following their heart in their life or not helping out people? I think he is definitely better. There's no doubt about it.
wonderful. That was a very fine line that you drew in, because the other part about uh, my initial attempts at meditation was this whole thing of carrying that, oh, I am better off than others. Initially, it was there, and as I was younger and foolish, uh, I would want to use the word intellectual here because I intellectualized my practice. Oh, I am so, I sit. Of course, there are uses of even the basic meditation and basic faith for somebody who's a believer who does whatever they do. Just that whole thing of that others don't get it, they are foolish. Uh, how did you go through such a phase? And if you did, how did you manage to uh, look at it in the right manner at some point of time? Or has that not happened? Or what is your see?
I think it happened probably a little in the initial days, but then the bar is so high when you're supposedly following some spiritual path that you found yourself very, very uh, you know minimally progressing. Nothing much has changed in you in terms of your habits or your uh, behavior. That I wouldn't look at somebody below because just because they are, they have not meditated or anything. I think the ultimate marker was how people led their life and how they handle difficulties. So you see many older people, I've not met many young people, but many older people, as they've seen many ups and downs in life, they mellow down a lot when they're older. They're a lot wiser and a lot calmer. And not every old person reaches there. Some people end up very grumpy and angry. So there is some transformation that's happening through reflection for many people and introspection. And even as we follow any spiritual path, if we are reflecting on what the teachings are and what we're supposed to be doing, and we are making small steps in that direction, I think one should be very happy. Are others inferior to us? I think that superiority immediately goes out when you meet your family members and they say, what progress have you made in so many years of meditation? So yeah, I think it's a very humbling experience. I think life itself is a very humbling experience. If you don't stay within your bubble and you venture out into society, there are 100 different opportunities to show you how small you are as an individual and how big people are out there with very little and they're doing so much.
Interesting question popped up, uh, but I have a context to it. The question is, what is meditation? Uh, but the context I have is that when you said the old people who grow more peaceful, more humble, so is it in a way dissolution of the self as we know it? So Bunty, he was sharp, he was angry, he was intellectual, he was happening, rocking in his whatever 30s, and he was doing well for himself, working in big agencies, living the life, everything that a young person would want, success and friends and parties and whatever it is that. And then whatever life happened at different points of time, and one became a little more contemplative. So the Bunty dissolved somewhere. is the word that I would want to use, because very often in my practice I have realized that the major problems that I have never been solved or resolved in the proper sense. They dissolve in the most mildest of ways, that that thing does not exist anymore. And I'm just at the receiving end of the reward of being free from that trouble or that thought or that burden on my mind or body or whatever it is. And it might not, I use the word dissolved vis-a-vis resolved, because resolved may mean that I had a financial problem and I received 2 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees or 50 lakh rupees, whatever. But in dissolved, it may mean that my problem doesn't exist. What I needed money for doesn't exist anymore. And or it has resolved by itself, and I've got a timeline that is matching mine or whatever, and I did nothing for that. And suddenly I'm little grateful for that dissolution of tension in me. So the Bunty is less of the tension. Similarly, in a good way, where I won 20 awards and suddenly that client no longer wants to work with me and says, it happened, if you remember, when we met, when I'd come down south and some work I was doing, and that work we tried some 15 times to get it, but it didn't happen. And there was nothing missing in what we were offering to the client, just that we were not lucky enough to back that project. Uh, so it could be either. So is meditation dissolution of the self? Uh, does everything dissolve, or what happens? What is your practice about? If you were to just share what is allowed to share on camera, of course. But
I think I think the as you are meditating, or even if you are observing life, like I said, the older folks are calmer and they're a lot more wiser. I think there are a couple of insights you get, is that we don't control everything, and everything that happens to us is not because we could move the pawns around and have an outcome. And when we accept that we don't control everything, and we are at peace with that acceptance, that okay, this is how it is going to be, uh, then you don't get worked up over everything that doesn't work out according to how you want it. Um, and this process of acceptance, this process of observing things from a third person's perspective, uh, gives you that first inkling of the dissolution of a self. That here I am thinking that I could think up all these things and contrive all these actions and events and outcomes, and those are not panning out the way they are. So my uh, concept of self and the notion that I could, make this huge contribution or difference in everything is probably not true, right? And so our self that we have created around uh, our thoughts and our views and opinions, you realize that it doesn't have much value in life itself, right? So yes, when you owe somebody money and they say, "Oh, Bunty, you need to pay this back," there is an obligation to pay there. But to think that this money that will come through this particular time and by through this particular means, or I've filed this project 15 times, the 16th time I'll definitely get it, that is not in our hands, right? Yes, at one level you are responsible for what people expect from you, but beyond that, to think that we control everything about our physical environment or our bodies or our relationships uh, isn't true. And every time that truth hits you and you accept it, there is that dissolution of the self. And as you keep accepting it over a period of time, then you don't think that there is this thing that I need to protect, or I need to fight for, these views or opinions or relationships. I don't need to hold on to these things, because none of those things are mine actually. I'm just a part actor in this whole scheme of things. I do whatever I can in my part, and then just observe things happening. It's loss that is the greatest uh, teacher that there is no self. Gain doesn't trigger that. It is loss that triggers that lack of certainty that, hey, this could happen to me, I've lost this. And that is what triggers introspection. So happiness rarely triggers introspection. It is the suffering and it's the loss that triggers that, hey, this thing that I thought was me or mine is gone. And if you had accepted it from the beginning that it could go, the pain would have been lesser. But if you have identified and you created a world around whatever it is, then it brings that tremendous amount of disappointment. And when you start looking through that disappointment, you realize it is just a creation of my own mind and around self. Because the other person who got that contract um, thought he or she also did a great job to get it. So if you look at it from the other perspective, justice is probably served. But when we can't look at it from there, then we're always looking at the self.
If I understand correctly, there is merit in being balanced about both happiness and sorrow. That tends to become a regular outcome of anybody who contemplates for uh, a reasonable amount of time. Is that a decent way to put it?
Yes, yes.
Uh, in a dog eat dog world, or in the rat race as we call them, uh, in trying to finish first, uh, does meditation create a problem by making us very mild and unambitious? This is kind of a last question because I want to bring up the practical aspect of whether it works better or whether it works against the grain of achieving something.
No, I think that race example you gave in the rat race, in the striving to be first. I think if you stop striving to be first, but just compete very well, then the result, if it comes first, it's first. If it is not, it is not. But you would know that you have done your best. I feel in a very practical level, as a student, as a sports person, or any other endeavor which I've gone through, where somewhere in the back of my mind, the end result was playing. My performance was definitely lower than if I actually played freely and enjoyed the game and never really bothered about whether I'll end up as a victory or not. But I strived throughout the game. I felt I came out happier. So even in life, like I said again, you only one person can be first. First cannot be 10 people. So the probability of you not being first is higher. But can you even compete? And I think that's the other aspect that you need to work on is, can I actually compete in that field competently? Can I be in the top 2, 3 people so that, if not here, somewhere else I can, make a mark and I can earn a livelihood. And if I'm not first now, can I be first 10 years from now? But can I compete? And that is something that most people should ask themselves. Can I compete in life? And I say compete in life, can I go through the trials and tribulations and still come out smiling and happy? Right? Is that I think the poem by Kipling, right? If you could do whatever has to be done and you lose all of it and still stand up, then you'll be a man. I think that is a question everyone has to ask themselves.
Let me ask you one more question. This led to, does it mean what you're saying that I become just more of Bunty, as in more realized version of myself in terms of, okay, if I'm a writer, I remember the first idea I cracked, I used all the terms that meant exactly opposite of what they were. And it was a joke in the agency that it was for a tourism company or something. And I used phrases which were swan song and one way ticket and something something. And my consultant, who was also my boss, came out laughing. He says, "You want people to go and not come back? What kind of this?" So I said, "No, these sound very good." And he says, "Do you know what it means?" I said, "No, no." And I went back and I checked, and I was appalled at what I was proposing. Just in trying to be clever by using words that I knew, and because I was in a circuit that made me very happy that, oh, finally I'm a writer. He said, never ever use a word that you do not fully know the meaning of. It's okay to use a bad word. It's okay to write badly. It's all right as long as uh, you're learning. But if you're using something just to make an impression and sound good, that's not what you're a writer. You have an idea and it needs to be expressed through the best possible words that you know, that you know. It need not necessarily mean that uh, what you know is the best, but at least it's the best that you know. And trust me, that changed my mindset, and I became painful about checking every word. So sometimes as a writer, a lot of people write about it, and sometimes I laugh when I smile in recognition. And uh, when a writer says, "When I die and people will check my internet history, they'll find that I've been checking the meaning of the simplest of words." And it really happens. In the middle of writing, suddenly you are unsure about a word like thorough. Oh, thorough means this, or it does it mean this, or does it mean that? And suddenly you are panicking because although it's a word that you use tens of thousands of times in everyday life, you just cannot be sure because the mind has taken over. And then you go back to the dictionary and say, ah, yeah, okay. So, are you really saying the actually meditation helps you be the best version of yourself in a way so that you can, whatever, compete is the word that you used, or you can live happier existence perhaps.
Yes, I think it makes you be authentic
Okay.
without the fear of being authentic. I think a lot of people are fearful to be authentic, to say what they want to say. You don't have to say it with a lot of anger or ego, but to say what you have to say or to be what you want to be uh, may not be comfortable to everybody around, especially if you don't want to follow the rat race or you want to do something different. And more than meditation, I would say contemplation and reflection of what your values are. That makes you be authentic. And I think um, anybody towards the end of their life will always look back and be happy or sad with the amount of authenticity they had when they led their lives. So for each person, it's different. For somebody, it may be $1 million. For someone else, it may be helping someone on the street. But would you be authentic to what you thought uh, you wanted to do or you wanted to be? And that's all there is to it.
Excellent. Excellent. I think this has been a wonderful chat, a short chat, but it has covered the ground that I was wanting to cover in terms of understanding practicality vis-a-vis a meditative approach to life. Thankfully, you use the right words in the end in terms of also contemplation and reflection being important ways to relook, even if one is formally not pursuing meditation. Thank you for your time. I am presuming this will be the first of many chats that we'll have.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you. Bye.